Hello again, everybody. It's Mr. David back with lesson 610 for our math. This will be the first lesson in week 2 that I'll be teaching. On the screen in front of you, or in front of me, but in front of you, you also see some of the things we're going to need today. And some of this stuff is homemade versions because I know we don't maybe have all of these tools at home. So for this lesson, you're going to need a pencil. That's pretty obvious. You're going to need to have a straight edge. I happen to have an old ruler laying around the house. If you happen to have one of these, you can use it. We're just using it as a straight edge, so you don't actually have to have the numbers on there for measuring, because we're just going to be drawing straight lines. So if you don't happen to have a ruler around the house, that's okay. You can just take a piece of cardboard like this with a straight edge. This is off a pizza box that I had out in recycling. You can use a piece of paper. You can use a book. If you use like the edge of a book, that works pretty well too for a straight edge. So any one of those things would work. We just needed to draw straight lines. And I explained how we are kind of picky about that in times. We do have to have our straight edge because in math there are times when you need to have a perfectly straight line. The last thing you're going to need to have is your angle measurer. This is the one I made last week with you, and you might still have yours. If you saved it, you can just get it back out and use it. If you don't have it, you could make a new one. The way you do that is just go back to lesson 6.8, watch like the first 5 minutes of that video, and you can go step by step and create another one, or you can use this to help you. You can pause the video here while you gather those things, and then after that, we'll go on with the lesson. Okay, so these are the tools we're going to need to have. I'm going to move these out of the way. If you happen to have a protractor at home, you could do this and actually get very exact measurements, but I'm assuming most of us don't. I know I don't have one at home. It's not something I keep laying around. So we can just make do without it and still learn the concepts we need to learn. As I said, today is for lesson 610. The title of today's lesson is Drawing and Measuring Angles. The objective of this lesson, or what we want you to learn today, is to know how to draw angles and measure them. Now, we are not going to measure them exactly because we can't unless we had a protractor. On the top part, it's even telling you, do not use one. But there is a part where they do want you to use one, but we'll use our angle measurer instead, and I'll show you how to create that. So, let's get started on this, and again, just to help Mr. David out, please make sure you put the date on top of when you're doing this. And take a look at a clock. Read the clock and write the time down. Read a clock with hands if you can, but just to practice our time skills as well. So we're going to do the math message together to kind of explain how to do it. And it says that we need to use a straight edge, and of course we'll need a pencil. It says up here to use a straight edge to draw the following angles. We're not allowed to use a protractor here. So it's saying this little funny symbol here. It looks kind of like they were trying to draw a triangle and they chopped off one of the sides. Well, that's the mathematical shorthand symbol for the word angle. So this actually would be read angle A. This would be read angle B. This would be read angle C. Okay, so when we see that symbol, we don't have to write the word angle out every time from up here. We can now use this symbol in math, which helps us do that. Well, today we need to draw 3 kinds of angles, and we're going to do that with a straight edge. And it says angle A, should be any angle that measures less than 90 degrees. And on the bottom down here, a reminder that angle A is called an acute angle. And that's kind of review for us. But here is something that's not review, how to draw an angle. Okay. So the very first thing we want to do is we want to put down a dot. And you want to make it kind of large. And I don't mean like the size of the sun or something, but bigger than a period. And that is called a vertex on an angle. V-E-R-T-E-X, vertex. You don't have to write this. I'm just going to write it here so you can see it. Okay, it's called the vertex of the angle. Since this is angle A, we have to label this point A. And remember, it has to be a capital letter because we always use capital letters when we do points on lines, which is what angles are. They're points on rays, but they're points. So now we're going to draw that angle. Now we know a 90-degree angle is a right angle, and we know that's kind of shaped like this, like an L. And so we have to have an angle that measures less than that. It needs to be closer together. So here's how we're going to do that. We're going to take our straight edge, lay it on there. Be sure it's where I can get my pencil in there. And draw one arm of the angle like this. Now this is a ray, so it needs to end with an arrow. This represents, remember, that this line goes on forever. Could go off the screen and out into the universe forever and just keep right on going. But we don't have time to draw all that, so we're just going to put a line there. The second thing we're going to do now is put the other arm on. Now I want to make sure mine is smaller than 90 degrees, so I'm going to make sure that it is by making it a very small angle and put that on there. Now we're almost done. This would actually be like half credit. There's an important point you have to remember to do. It's very important when you do angles because technically sitting in front of you right now, there are two angles. There's one here and there's actually one all the way around out here. And we want to make sure we have the acute angle. So to tell the person that's watching this or working on it or checking it, which would be me, you need to put an arrow in there to show that that's the angle I meant. And so that's angle A drawn as an acute angle. Let's go on to angle B. It says any angle that measures more than 90 degrees and less than 180, that's called an obtuse angle. Okay, so that's a big angle, right? So we're going to go ahead and we are going to draw our vertex again. Make a dot. Put a B by it because it's going to be angle B. We don't have to write vertex every time. I just did that the first time so you could see it. And to make a big angle, you have to take as much space as you can get. So I think I'm going to put one arm on going this way. And I can't go straight up or less because that would be acute. I have to go over here and make it bigger. So take your straight edge, lay it on there. Go ahead and draw that other arm on there. And now we have an angle that's definitely larger than 90 degrees, but it's less than 180. Because remember, 180 is a straight angle. We're going to talk about that and see. So again, we need to put an arrow in here to represent to our person looking at this that we know which angle we're talking about. Well, there it is. So now we have angle B as an obtuse angle. Now the final angle we're going to draw is called the straight angle, and that's going to be C. And because of the limited space in the book, which means it's small, we're going to do this a little different way. We're going to make our straight angle. It doesn't have to go straight across. It can go up and down, and that's what ours is going to do. So I'm going to draw a vertex and put a C by it, because this is angle C. And now I am going to draw this. But now when you draw a straight angle, it's kind of cool, is you can draw the whole thing at once, because it's a straight line. So you draw it down, and there are both sides of the angle. All I have to do is put an arrow on one end, an arrow on the other end, and I have an angle that measures exactly, and this does measure exactly 180 degrees. I didn't even need a protractor to do that. So now, again, in this angle, it's probably not as important because it's pretty obvious, but we're still going to draw that line, make it a good habit to show that that's what we meant. All right, so there are three types of angles we have today. We have an acute angle, obtuse, and straight. These two were review. This was kind of new. We talked about in lesson 6.8 a little bit in 6.9, but it's right there. Okay, so now we're going to go down and we're going to work on this part. Now, I'm not going to do all of these for you. I'm just going to do one part with you, okay? And then you're going to do the other ones. I'm going to show you how to do it, and you're going to do the others. Now, this time they changed the way they named the angle, and I want to show this to you. See how down here it says angle SDE? So they're saying you have to start on one arm. The vertex is always the second letter, D, and then comes up to E. So this angle is COR, or it could be ROC. It doesn't matter. And this could be EDS. That's fine too. Just as long as the vertex is in the middle. Take a moment and give me how you know this angle. What's another name this angle could have? If you said VTR, you're right. It could be VTR, but it's in this case they're saying RTV because again T is the vertex. Now, they already put the degree measurement. That's what that dot is on your. That means degrees, and we know that temperature and angles have the same symbol. Now we have to decide if it's acute or obtuse. Now we can do that probably before we even start. Looking at this one, is it a right angle? No, definitely not. Is it larger? No, it's smaller. So this is acute. Okay. Now, I would look at this one and say the same thing. Is it smaller than 90 degrees? If it is, I'm going to write acute here. Okay, there's the word acute. Or is it bigger? Is it obtuse? Then I would write the word obtuse here. Here, this angle is quite a bit larger, isn't it? Kind of looks like our angles up here. We can use that to help us. If I think it's acute, I'm going to write acute there. And if I think it's obtuse, I'm going to write it obtuse right there. Now we know which angle they're talking about because they drew in that little arrow just like we did. So there's no confusion as to what they need. Now the second step is we have to measure it. Now it says measure it as accurately as you can, and that's what we're going to do. And for us, it may not be all that accurate because we may only have an angle measure. Now if you have a protractor, you put your center of your protractor here, line a 0 up here, and then look where this sticks out, and it gives you that measurement. I don't have a protractor with me, and I couldn't get one from school. So I got to use an angle measure, probably just like you're doing. So the way I'm going to do that is we have our left and right arm. I'm going to put the vertex right here in that hole, line the 0 up, and I'm going to guess what that is. Well, that angle is a little bit more than 45 degrees, but it's not a lot more, so I'm going to say it's probably like 48. That's kind of an estimate, but that's what I'm going to guess. So down here, I could write that. And if you're that close, when I check this, you'll definitely get it right. Now, if you put SDE measures 45,277.3339 degrees, then, well, we're going to have a problem because there's only 360 degrees in a circle. As long as you're close, we're going to be good. So what I want you to do then is go ahead and determine if this is acute or obtuse and measure it, and acute or obtuse and measure it. Once you're done with that, you're done with the first page. Let's go on to the second page now. Now the second page is a little bit different. The page is called Drawing Angles. Now this is a little bit of a trick, and I'm going to show you how to do it. It's kind of easy, but it takes a little bit of time, so it also may require you to turn your page. So here they've drawn one arm of the angle, but there's another one that has to come off of these. Whoops, I almost drew something there by accident. Okay, there we go. That would draw the other arm. That would give us that measurement. And the measurement they want is here. We're going to get as close as we can. This is ray HG. Right here, it says that. This has to be ray HG. It cannot be GH because the arrow is going that way. It has to be H to G. If you said G to H, you would be drawing a completely different shape, or it'd be pointing the other way. So this is one arm of the angle. Now we are going to make the other arm of the angle. And this takes two tools. It takes the angle measurer, and you're going to need that straight edge from before. You're going to need this too. I'll just set that off to the side. Now, here's how we're going to do this. Okay, so I'm going to actually turn my paper because it'll be easier for you to see. And you can turn your paper sideways too if it helps. Okay, there we go. Now, I'm going to put my angle measurer on there, line that vertice, which is H, into the middle of it, and I'm going to put it on 0. Now this says the angle has, I know it's sideways, but it says 35 degrees. Well, this is 45 and this is 0. So we have to kind of estimate. Halfway would be, what, about 23 degrees? So it's more than that, but not by much. It's probably right in here somewhere. I'm going to draw a little line right there. I'm going to take this away. Whoops, move my whole paper, sorry. Take that away. And then I'm going to go ahead, lay my straight edge on there. Line the vertice up with that line that I had, and I'm going to draw a little line right there. Okay, and so when that happens, I have drawn the other arm. Sorry, the phone was ringing. There we go. Okay, now what I'm going to do is go over here, and I'm going to put an arrowhead on there because it has to match what this one says. Okay, so now you're almost done. Now, that angle doesn't have equal side lengths. It doesn't matter because remember, this represents it goes on forever, so it's okay. We do need to draw the final thing in there. Does anybody know what it is? If you said, oh, we need that little line in the middle to show what we're drawing. You're right. That's what it was. We have to put this little line in here to show that, yep, that's the angle we're talking about. We're saying that is 35 degrees. Now, is it exactly 35 degrees? No, I can guarantee you it's not. But it's very, very close. And that's what we're going for today when we do this because we only have an angle measurer. Okay, now, if we go down, the second one, and I'm going to read these to you in case you don't have anybody to help you with the words at home. It says to draw an angle measuring 150 degrees using this ray as one of the sides. Is that acute or obtuse? It's obtuse. That's right. It's bigger because it's bigger than 90 and less than 180. So that's going to be somewhere in here. I can estimate that. Now, would it be okay for me to take my pencil and draw that on there? No. You need to use a straight edge. You need to put it on there. We're not just going crazy and drawing lines willy-nilly because that's not what angles look like. Number 3 says, draw an angle measuring 60 degrees. Here's one side. You're going to have to make 60. Now, we know straight up and down is 90. 60 is less than 90. So this angle we already know is acute because it's less. It's going to be somewhere in here probably, maybe a little bit more. Down here, wow, this one's going to take some technical wizardry on your part. Whew. It's only 15 degrees. You're going to have to estimate. That's going to be a teeny tiny little angle. It's going to not be very big at all. It's going to be right in there somewhere. Remember, it needs to attach at the vertex, and they also flip the arrows, so don't get confused by that. And you need to guess where that is the best you can and draw it in there. And then don't forget the little arrow. When you're done, all 4 of these angles are going to have that extra arm that you drew with an arrowhead, and they're going to have this little thing in there to show what it is. Now, if you're feeling really good about it, like, dude, I got this. Try this. Draw an angle measuring 330 degrees using ray IJ as one of its sides. Holy cow. Well, you know from looking at this, at least I hope you do, that a complete circle is 360 degrees. This is 315 right here. It's going to be up here, and this angle is going to be really tiny, but you're going to be drawing the arrow instead of inside that tiny little angle. You're going to have to go all the way around to show where it is. So it's going to be a tiny little angle with the arrow on the outside. Okay, I'm going to leave that one and not do it. I want to see who can do that one on their own and figure it out. But a 330-degree angle, that's big. That's bigger than obtuse, isn't it? That's a huge angle. And so this one is going to be kind of a challenge. This is something you'll do in middle school quite a bit. So it's good to prepare for it now. Once you've done that, you've completed the first 2 pages of the lesson. There is a last page, but don't worry. The last page is just crunchy boxes. Nothing really to worry about, but they're special crunchy boxes. So I want you to pay attention. These are math boxes to preview for Unit 6 or for Unit 7. So this is Unit 610 yet, but it's for Unit 7. Ooh. There's not going to be a test, obviously. I can't send you a test and grade it, but we're still going to do lessons from Unit 7, so we do need to prepare for it. This unless we get back to school, and then we can get right back where we were. Here, you're going to see that we have box 1, naming the multiples of 8 from 1 through 80. So 1 plus 8 plus 8 plus 8. Keep going on. And it should get you to 80 when you get here if you have it right. You might have to start with 8, actually. But you can try that out and figure it out. This one says, Joe and Ed each sold 24 raffle tickets. Joe got a point for every 4 raffle tickets he sold. I'd probably circle that. It looks like important information. Ed got a point for every 3 raffle tickets he sold. So one had a point for 4. One got a point for 3. And they each, which means both of them sold 24. Not together, but Joe sold 24 and Ed sold 24. How many more points did Ed get than Joe? You have to figure a number model out there. I'd say there's some dividing going on there. Maybe 24 divided by 4 and 24 divided by 3. Start there. And then you can answer that question after you compile your 2 answers. This is a multi-step problem. Those are very hard for us. They're hard for everybody. And even if you're good at math, they're hard because you do the first step and think that's got to be the answer. Sometimes you got to take another step. This is one of those situations. So take your time on that one. Down here, on box 3, we're going to divide the number line into fourths and label the fractions. Okay, so you can make little lines in there, make 4 equal pieces, and you got fractions. Well, we know this fraction, don't we? That's 0/4, and we know this fraction too, don't we? That's 4/4, but what goes in the middle? Okay, speaking of fractions, in number 4, we're going to add these fractions again. Now, these are pretty easy because remember, the numerator changes, but the denominator always stays the same. They're all the same, so that makes it pretty easy. This one's reversed, but shouldn't be too bad. And this one has this whole number here. Now, if you have this whole number here, what you have to do is you have to remember to add that too. So 6, this is a 0, it really doesn't have one. So there's going to be a whole number of 6 in there. But then you have to add 7 plus 3 to get 10, and then carry the denominator across because that doesn't change, and that would be 10/12. So that's how you do those, okay? That's something you can work on. It is okay if your answer is an improper fraction in this one because it doesn't say that it has to be changed. Here's the kind of hard one. That's why it's taking up about a third of the page. To make chairs, Josh needs boards of the following lengths, and it says in inches. So we got all these different boards he needs at different lengths, and it says to plot the data and answer the question. So we're going to put these measurements down here, okay, and then for however many times it occurs, you're going to put X's up here to make the bar. I think the title could be Josh's boards, and then you can answer the question here at the end. You're going to find the difference between the longest and shortest board. If you're confused on how to do this, on lesson, I think it's 6-9, I did a box very similar to this and actually showed you how to construct some of this. So you can go back to 6-9 towards the end of the lesson and find that if you need to. This time I'm not going to do much of anything. I want to see if you can do it independently. I want to see how much you can do of this. But notice some of these occur more than once. Looks like they're in order from, well, they're not actually even really in very good order, so you're just going to have to be careful with that. But you can rewrite these on scrap paper if you need to. You can even put this on scrap paper if you need to. All right, so that is the pages for unit lesson 6-10. Coming up in the next video, we'll be doing lesson 6-11, but 6-11 is very, very short. There won't be a lot to it. Give this a try. Rewind through it. If you find a spot where you're confused, you can come on to office hours and I can put this camera on and try to help you with some of the problems. I know I did my test today and I saw Merrick pop in and Bella popped in for a little bit. Looks like it's working good. And so you can look on these videos to answer your questions first, but if that doesn't work, I'll be open for those office hours on Google Hangouts. I said Zoom originally, but that didn't work very well. Google Hangouts does work, so we'll be using that for Tuesdays and Thursdays from 10 to about 11 in the morning. On those 2 days, I'll be available for office hours to help you. If you need help at a different time, we can always set that up. I just need to know from your parents or whoever contacts me that you need that help. So there's unit 6-10. Have at it. Have fun with it. I think you're going to do great. Drawing angles is actually kind of fun, but take your time and it'll go well. All right. Take care, everybody, and talk to you in the next video.